But you're saying there was no corruption there at all? No.
That's not what I'm saying. That's actually...
No, but I want to know what you're saying. You're the leader of the country.
Absolutely.
You're saying no corruption?
No.
None?
No. There were some boneheaded decisions out of a
but
local
no
office.
mass corruption?
Not even mass corruption. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
What did you think about that? President Obama downplaying the IRS targeting scandal, that interview with Bill O'Reilly. 24 hours later, the IRS announces it will pay employees the bonuses from 2013 that were canceled. Now, some top Republicans blasting that decision. Utah Senator Orrin Hatch, quote, "The IRS is accused of targeting conservative groups, with many of its employees having conducted themselves in a manner inappropriate for government officials. And the agency decides to reinstate employee bonuses. This is outrageous," end quote. Ohio Senator Rob Portman's on the Senate Finance Committee. How are you, Senator? And good morning to you.
I'm well, Bill. How are you?
Let's take it a step at a time. The president said not a smidgen of corruption. What did you think about that comment, Senator?
I think that's outrageous, Bill. I cannot believe that the President of the United States, in the midst of these investigations, including his own criminal investigation of this issue, is predetermining the result by saying, no problem, there's no evidence here, not even a smidgen of corruption. I mean, clearly we had targeting of groups because of their political orientation. Those groups tended to be the conservative groups. I got very involved in this bill, as you know, because groups in Ohio came to me and said, what's going on here? You know, we are not able to get our 501c4 status, but also they're asking us questions that seem inappropriate. I made inquiries. The IRS said, no problem, we're not doing any of this, when in fact we found out later that they had reason to believe that this was going on. So look, there is definitely a smidgen. There's far more than a smidgen. There's a lot of evidence of serious corruption, I would say, is not too strong a word. And for the president to say there's nothing here is unbelievable.
You know, it's interesting you bring up the Cincinnati connection, okay? These were his words he used with O'Reilly. There were some boneheaded decisions out of a local office. And the comments stop there.
Yeah, look, our hometown of Cincinnati clearly was involved in this, and there were boneheaded decisions. It doesn't mean those decisions were not made without, you know, some deliberate attempt to target conservative groups, which is what I believe. But it's much more than the Cincinnati office. This went right up to Washington. We know this. In fact, the president himself asked for the resignation of the acting IRS commissioner because of this. And Lois Lerner, as you know, resigned because of this. So this notion that there was nothing wrong other than just some bad decisions along the way, I think is totally irresponsible for the president to assert at this point.
Just to finish his comments, Senator, he said not even mass corruption, not even a smidgen of corruption. Last week, Eric Holder suggested that criminal charges are still possible. Are they? So that's not closed then, apparently.
It's not closed. Now, as you know, I've been critical of the fact that they chose someone from the Civil Rights Division to investigate this. The Inspector General said that that has never happened in his 12 years. It should have been someone from the Criminal Division. Second, this person who's investigating it, as you know, is a Obama campaign contributor. So, you know, we're looking at this rather skeptically, this investigation. But, you know, let's get to the bottom of it. The Finance Committee in the Senate, in which I serve, is looking at it. The House is looking at it. Let's not prejudge the result here. Let's ensure that the American people can have their trust restored in this agency by getting to the bottom of it and not telling the American people there's no problem here when we haven't even completed the investigation.
One more point, Senator, here. There are a lot of good people who work at the IRS, and you would concede that, I'm sure, as well, not just in Washington, but all across the country. Should the raises have been reinstated? What is your view on that?
Well, I have not talked to the commissioner about that yet. Commissioner Koskinen, you know, I was actually pleased that they picked him as a nominee because he's a business person. He has private sector background. He's a turnaround guy. That's what's needed. So I want to talk to him first. Clearly, no one who's involved in this scandal ought to be getting bonuses. But there are other hardworking people there who probably did not get a bonus last year, even though they weren't involved in this. And I just want to find out who is getting these bonuses, what the level is. I've heard some reports these are smaller bonuses than usual. So I'm not going to prejudge that, just as I hope the president won't prejudge these investigations.
All right, Senator, one fine point on this. The FBI and the Justice Department are still looking into whether or not criminal activity occurred. The internal investigation on behalf of the IRS, they'd already determined that there was a slow walk of these applications. And that goes back a couple years. I'll give you the last word, Senator.
Yeah. Well, Bill, look, this is about taking an agency that affects all of us in our lives and ensuring that we can restore some, you know, trust from the American people. And the way to do that is not to have the leader of the government, the President of the United States, say there was no problem here, when in fact there's plenty of evidence that there were problems, plenty of evidence of targeting. What all we want to do is get to the bottom of it and ensure that these investigations are fair and impartial. And I hope that's what will now happen.
Thank you for your time.